brought me this far to leave me.
Number 5. This is one we agreed on, and this has been a joint goal that we have shared for years. And it's cheesy how we wrote it down because I don't think that we wouldn't say it like this, but this is how it was written. Deepen spiritual practice. We never say that around our house. Never. You know what I mean? That sounds like...
That's not how we talk.
No, that's like some self-help guru. We would say, I'm a jackass. I need to get my stuff together. But I think this is what this makes me, you know what I mean? That's stupid. No one, we're not deepening I don't think that we have ever said we need to deepen our spiritual practice when we are talking. I suck sometimes and am a jackass.
I can say amen to that.
And I do not want to suck and be a jackass.
Neither do I.
And my tools happen to be of the religious and metaphysical nature. So I just stop.
At least you have some tools.
Exactly. And because I suck, I don't use them properly. Or the way that...
Or enough.
And not in the most effective way. You just suck sometimes. But we just don't want to suck. Sometimes we suck. That's the deepened spiritual. I've never said that. I've never said that. Ever. But I think, all joking aside, that has been a common, that's probably one of the only common goals we share. Because we listen to different types of music.
Yeah.
We have different tastes in clothing styles. We have there are different tastes in books that we like to read. What was that that popped up on the screen?
I don't know what that said.
Mm-hmm. We have different...
Yeah, I like to read fantasy. You like to read sci-fi.
Yeah.
And for movies, but no, we kind of agree on movies, don't we?
We're different.
No, we're different.
This is off of the topic, but and it is what it is. People say that we make a good couple, and thank God for that. But inside of the relationship, because maybe people aren't inside of it. Inside of the relationship, maybe it's not evident how different we are as people. We have this is me, in my personal opinion, we have very little in common. But the thing that I always think about is the one thing we have in common was when we lived in Tucson. We sat down and discussed all like this. It's very similar. It's weird that we do it all so often. That was like 10, 12, 15 years ago. I can't remember.
We do it like once a year, right?
Yeah. We talk about it, but that time we wrote everything down. So maybe it was like 10, 11 years ago. But we sat down and we wrote down all of our goals or things that we thought were important. And then we read each other's and talked about them. And then we tried to boil it down just to the things that we had in common core beliefs. Because at that time I was reading all of this anarchist literature. And there was a grouping of individuals called a collective. And then the collective came together to achieve common goals, and that collective would possibly break up. Or there's collectives, there's all these different ways they were breaking it down. But, because that's how we came up with that whole idea of free will collective. But the things that we had in common, the only things we had in common were we believed in God. We had three things. I don't even remember those three things, but that's the one thing I remember.
We don't even read the same spiritual book.
No. Technically, we do not even practice the same religion. And it means, and then the weird thing is that means absolutely nothing to us. We have nothing in common, and I personally don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't like, oh, I wish you would be this way.
We have the most important thing in common.
So
That's what it is.
we boiled it down. We both believed in God. And then we both believed that the best possible way to live is to be as natural as possible. Natural in your diet, natural in sleep patterns, just natural. As close to being in harmony with nature as possible. And then
To go back to our natural
state,
selves.
yeah.
Our natural state.
And then the third thing was, we said we believed in God. We believed that the best way to live would be as natural as possible. And we've taken that to different levels in our life. You don't wear makeup anymore. You don't straighten your hair. We were making our own deodorant for a while.
Yeah, that was
Veganism and vegetarianism.
I still don't use regular deodorant. I use
Yeah.
baking soda.
So we
brush
took
our
it
teeth
there.
with baking
We
soda.
don't own any, we don't wear any animal products, even in our
What about
clothing.
that oil that we wear for cologne?
No, there's no
That's not
animal.
animal.
No. And then it was we believed in God. We believed that humans were the best thing for us was to live as close to a very natural state as possible. And then the third thing was those were essentially the only things in life that mattered.
The
So-
one God, there's only one God, and that we need to go back to our natural state.
Yep. And then I think that I remember that day that we did that because, and we filmed it. We used to make videos. We got rid of them. We threw out a whole
Follow
bunch.
God, and we need to go follow God, and then following God will take us back to our natural state.
Yeah. And those are the only goals. We said that's the only thing that we care about. And how we express that over the years, it's been different. We've been all over the map, but that day after we said that, I remember that day when we wrote those down and we looked at that list. That was when our relationship changed. It's never been the same. From that moment on, even like now, I really don't care in a good way because we hang out with each other all the time. But we have nothing in common, and it doesn't scare me at all. It doesn't matter.
That's what makes our relationship
Yeah,
interesting.
I just don't care.
It doesn't get boring because you're different, like different things than what I like, and we bring
Yeah,
different things
I like you.
to the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure people like, you like to feel safe in a relationship, and you like to feel like you have a lot, and people like to feel safe in relationships. And the way that they feel safe is that they believe the same things, they know that this person has similar outlooks, but then there are differences all the time, and you should harmonize with each other's differences. That's the beauty of relationships. But for whatever reason, after we did that, we talk about this. We've talked about it before. We just don't have whatever the foundation. Those three principles, which are actually two, are the foundation of our relationship. No matter what else we've done, like it doesn't matter. We've done all sorts of things. Our beliefs have changed, our occupations, where we live, but I think boiling our relationship down to those basic essentials has freed us up just to like each other and like to be around each other, and we don't have to worry about our differences. But we were supposed to be talking about deepening spiritual practice. Let me pause this so we can start it again. Deepening spiritual practice. You have 11 minutes left. So
I'm going to do all the talking.
let's, and we
Since
have,
there's only 11 minutes left.
exactly. That's how it always is. We have underneath there, read, prayer, study deeper, continue to evolve spiritually. 11 minutes. Favorite books?
My favorite
Wait,
books.
hold on. Yeah. Reading, prayer, and study. Favorite books right now that you are reading, spiritual books to read, that you're going to read deeper.
Of course, the Bible. I always like that for some reason. And Asmul.
99 Names of God, the Bawa Mahayadeen edition.
Yeah, that one's one of my favorites, and the Yoga Sutras. And if I can only read 3 books in the whole world, I'd take those. Oh, one more, the Dhammapada. That's one of my favorites. It's a Buddhist book.
What is your primary book that you turn to?
The Bible.
Okay.
No, I'm not a Christian. But I respect Christians because the Son of God did come.
Okay. What would my 3... What am I reading right now that is extremely influential? I don't have as many as you. One that I am reading right now is called Jesus the Sufi. This is why I bring that up, because I think that in my mind, and when I interact with you, when we talk and discuss, when we're trying to deepen our spiritual practice, we talk amongst ourselves, and it just makes sense. You're doing what you do, whatever. It's like, to me, it's like you're digging into a toolbox and pulling out what you need. And I don't know, it's hard to explain our relationship when you have to sit down and talk about it, for me, because we never talk about it in that way.
It's more natural to
I believe so.
I think.
Yeah. So
Just you can't
you're
put it in a box.
a wild horse, and I don't try and tame you.
The shrew. Taming of the shrew.
But-
Who's taming you?
I know. This is the one that I'm reading, and an avenue. I've been fascinated by this for years. I never talk about it in public because every time it comes up, it causes problems, and people are just stuck in a certain place. Every time I bring these conversations up, I'm told I'm going to hell, I'm believing wrong, blah, 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 blah. But one influential book that has rekindled a passion that I have that encourages me to grow and develop spiritually and to continue, like we said in part B, just to try and evolve and grow. to let go of these hindrances, fears, angers, whatever they are, just to allow yourself to grow and mature, just be a human, solid human the way God intended. This book, Jesus the Sufi, has put me back onto a line of study that I was into deep. Jesus Christ, to me, has got to be the most fascinating personality to come onto the planet. And this is why I say that. If you study the life and teachings of Jesus deep enough, there was a sect of sadhus, naked, dreadlocked holy men in India. There's a sect of them that are quote-unquote Christians. You can find all this stuff on the internet. Prior to the disciple Thomas going into India, or prior to this more European form of Christianity, the St. Thomas Christians, prior to that, there was a group of Christians, quote-unquote Christians, in India called the Ashani. Within Islam, there have always been people who followed the teachings of Jesus, personalities within Islam that you would never know about. You'll never study them, you'll never hear about them, because people are shallow and prejudiced. But right now, that's one of the most influential books, because I spent years, Jesus is everywhere, loved by and respected by, viewed as the Word of God by people that you would never consider to be a Western Christian. And I think that's a positive thing, because nobody owns God. Nobody owns Jesus. So that's an influential book on me. That rekindled some things that makes me want to go back through and study the life and teachings of Jesus deeper.
Jesus is Sufi.
Yeah, it's a great book. Great book. Small, short, concise, but
Says a lot.
yeah. Another, naturally, the Quran.
I like the Quran.
Those
I like it.
are the two. Okay. 3 minutes before we run out of tape. We'll finish the list later. Continue to evolve spiritually. In 1 minute, maybe I'll go first. I'll let you think. What are we going to do? What do we do to continue to evolve spiritually? I think, for me, that type of spiritual study, and then to try and live these principles out when you find them in these different books and things like that. The study of the information, to me, helps me think differently, and it encourages me to be a different person. One thing we never talk about that we should talk about is, I think that the value of some sort of meditation or silencing of your mind, and it allows you to hear yourself, your deeper self. That allows you to live out these things more. It makes you brave enough to change. It's like you can hear deeper inside. And it gives you the bravery, the strength, and the insight to really change and live what you believe. What kind of steps
Is that mine or
Yeah.
go ahead?
towards this whole evolution thing? Like, what are your, what kind of actions are you
I'm
taking?
trying to meditate and pray, spend time with God, and acceptance of pain is help for purification. That's what the Yoga Sutra says. That's really hard. I'm going to try and do that.
I think it is because
Because it's painful every time I have to go to work. Really painful.
life is tough, and I think that we spend so much. You're right. We spend so much of our energy trying not to be hurt that we never allow ourselves to learn from situations and
That's a good way to put it.
yeah.
Especially when you go to work, because people are idiots. But to try, if you can get to the place where you can be there without being affected by their wrong actions. No, I think that's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
But to get from there to that place, that's a lot of hard work. It's hard.
Exactly. All right, that we did the first 5. Maybe we'll do the other ones, the last 4 next week.
Okay, next
You want
Saturday.
to? Are we kissing
wait,
on
I'm
film now?
Yes, we can.
Boom.